Hi there, Chris, Chap in the Cap, Motor Legends. Today I'm going to talk to you about an exciting new suit from Rukka. It is the replacement for the Nivala suit, and it is called, rather unimaginatively, the Nivala 2. Rukka initially launched the Nivala jacket, what I suppose we're now going to call the Nivala 1, back in 2016. And I don't think it would be an exaggeration to suggest that it changed perceptions of laminated motorcycle gear. Now, lamination makes a product stiffer, it makes the material stiffer, because lamination is about bonding or heat sealing the waterproof membrane onto the inside of the outer fabric. So when you add that to the fabric, it makes it stiffer. It makes it stiffer again if you get what's called a three-layer membrane. And on a three-layer membrane, you've got the outer fabric, you've got the membrane, then you've got a protective layer on the inside. Technically, three-layer is meant to be better. It is, for reasons that are beyond my comprehension, more breathable, certainly makes it more robust. The best performing three-layer laminated construction comes from Gore-Tex, and it's known as Pro Shell, and that's pretty much the gold standard when it comes to waterproofing. But historically, garments made with a Gore-Tex Pro Shell construction have not been particularly comfortable. High mileage riders, the kind of guys who are doing 20,000 miles a year, were often prepared to accept the trade-off in terms of comfort for the extra it bought them in terms of waterproofing. But again, historically, for most of us, it was just too uncompromising. The original Nivala, when it came out, changed all of that, and I think that was down as much to anything to the stretch in the fabric. It made the jacket immensely comfortable, more comfortable than a laminated jacket really had a right to be. Indeed, more comfortable than many drop liner jackets. Here at Motor Legends, we are huge believers in the concept of passive safety, and that's all about being comfortable and relaxed on the bike. Clearly, protection is important. We all want to ride in fabrics or with materials that are abrasion resistant. We want to be wearing energy absorbent armour. But there's a school that suggests that if you can ride on the bike in a totally relaxed fashion, you put yourself in a better position to avoid having an accident in the first place, meaning you don't really have to rely so much on the protective stuff. The secret of the Nivala was that, of course, it had all the protective stuff. It had level 2 D3O armour throughout. It had armour core protecting the shoulders and the elbows, but it was simply so nice to ride in. Of course, it had all the other features that you might have expected on a Rukka jacket. Plus, of course, it had a fabulous down-filled liner that was just amazing to wear and incredibly warm. The Nivala was always a popular jacket. From its inception, it was popular, and latterly it's been selling as well as it did some 5 years ago. But I suppose one has to accept that in life, things change. In this case, the fabric that Rukka was making the Nivala from has been discontinued, so in some ways they had no choice but to create a new version. As the name suggests, as the Nivala 2 name suggests, Rukka has not moved far from the original concept with this new jacket. Crucially, even though they've had to use a totally different fabric, the jacket is every bit as comfortable as its predecessor. Out of interest, it comes in 4 different colourways. It comes in this black with yellow, black with orange, black with black, or black with silver. The highlighting in each case being reflective, even the black. The jacket sits marginally longer. The Nivala 2 jacket sits marginally longer than the Nivala 1. It's about an inch longer. Now, the shortness of the Nivala 1 jacket was never a problem if you were zipped in, but if you weren't, for whatever reason, if you were wearing a different brand of trousers, it could be a little short, and that could allow water to come under the jacket and wick up into the body. So it's nice that it's just a little bit longer. No difference between the Nivala 1 and Nivala 2 when it comes to protection. The Nivala 2's got level 2 D3O throughout, so you've got D3O protectors, and of course they are Rukka's huge protectors, much bigger than most protectors, but it's got the protectors in the shoulders, in the elbows. You've got a level 2 back protector as standard. You've also got a chest protector. Slightly different arrangement to the chest protector in the Nivala 1. This one can't be unzipped. It sits there permanently. You just tuck it into the left-hand side. If you don't want to wear a chest protector, don't worry, it can still be taken out. On the shoulders and the elbows, we've got an extra layer of material called armour core. That's a very abrasion-resistant material made from a mix of Cordura and Kevlar, and it's just designed there. If you do go down the road, it's going to give you a bit of extra, as I've suggested, abrasion resistance. Where the Nivala 2, I think, moves ahead quite considerably from the Nivala 1 is in its venting. Now, Rukka is a brand that I think is better known for the rain and the cold. That's why you buy a Rukka. You don't necessarily buy a Rukka if you're going to be riding a lot in the searing heat, if you're going to be riding across a desert. But you're going to be much better off with the Nivala 2 in that respect than you would have been in the 1, because it's got a lot more vents. So we had, on the Nivala 1, we had these shoulder vents. So no change there. We had these vents up and down the flanks. Rukka reckon these are particularly effective. But what we also get with the Nivala 2, we get these vents up the arms, and at the back behind the arms we have exhaust vents, and there weren't any exhaust vents on the Nivala 1. So this jacket is going to flow quite considerable amounts of air. What you don't get with this jacket, and surprised us a little, don't know quite why Rukka have done this, but you do not get volume adjusters on the arms. I suspect it has something to do with the construction here, with the fact that we've got a zip here for venting. But what Klim would have done, they would have had a volume adjuster, and they would have used that also as a way of holding the vents open when you were in hot weather. So I think that Rukka have potentially missed a little bit of a trick there. At the front here, we've got 2 zipped pockets. They're going to be water resistant pockets, not totally waterproof pockets. The old Nivala 1 had 4 pockets on the front. This has only got 2, but I'm going to come back. There is something that makes up for that particular loss. The zip, the main zip up the front of the jacket, is not a waterproof zip, and you might think that's a retrograde step. But Rukka has had some poor experiences at times with their waterproof zips. They've always put the best waterproof zips on their jackets, but those zips, when they're put under stress, they can fail. So what Rukka has done, they've put a standard non-waterproof zip on this jacket, but they've covered it with a double storm flap. So this is the first storm flap. You've then got a second storm flap, and then you've got a rain gutter here. So if any rain does get in, it's going to run through there. So even though it doesn't have a properly waterproof zip, water is not going to get into this jacket, I can assure you. Like the Nivala 1, the Nivala 2 has a storm collar. On the Nivala 1, that was a zip-off affair. It was fine, but it was a bit of a hassle. You had to take it off, put it in your pocket. If you lost it, you could never get a replacement. That's not going to happen here because the neck collar zips into a pocket at the back, so it cannot be lost. I fear that there is one potential downside. I can tell already that some people are going to put this jacket on, find it's going to be a little bit stiffer in the neck, because this, when you put the collar here in this pocket, it just stiffens it up a bit. It's going to make it less easy for some people. Most of the other features on this jacket are what you would expect to find on pretty much all of Rukka's premium jackets. You might not find them on a jacket like the Calyx, but you will find it on most jackets. So we've got a neoprene collar here. Now, neoprene, when it sits to the skin, is nice and comfortable, so it's not going to chafe or itch. But also in the rain, as water comes down the helmet and tries to create a channel running down into the jacket, the neoprene is going to soak that up. We've got GTX cuffs at the ends of the sleeves. The GTX cuffs go inside the cuff of your glove, then the outer cuff goes over the cuff of your glove. And what it means is that rain can't come up and navigate around the U-bend to get into the sleeves, nor can water run down the sleeves and reach the hands. So it's a feature that Rukka put on a lot of their jackets, and it just means it's an added barrier against water ingress. You've got zips and Velcro at the end of the sleeves, again, as you would expect. And what that allows you to do, you open the zip, you put your glove underneath it, you close the zip, you then cinch it tight with the Velcro. It just means that you can get pretty much any kind of glove underneath this jacket. You've got a totally waterproof inner pocket as opposed to the external pockets, which I think we can say are no more than water resistant. You've got adjusters at the waist, so you can adjust the volume there a little bit. Obviously, you've got a zip to attach the Nivala 2 jacket to any Rukka pant you want, or indeed a Halvarsens pant. Finally, you've got this pocket across the back that I mentioned. It's a document pocket. It runs across the back of the jacket. So whereas we've lost these 2 pockets here, we have an extra one at the back. Rukka has also broken with tradition with its branding on the new jacket. I have to say that we don't always like large logos and large branding devices on motorcycle wear. We think it's a little bit lacking in subtlety. But the large R that has appeared on the back of Rukka jackets forever has been a very recognisable, very consistent visual trademark. let's face it, most jackets from the back look exactly the same. So if you're following a motorcyclist, you can't tell whether they're wearing a Furagan or a Risha or whatever. But you could always tell when somebody had a Rukka jacket on. That R, of course, was also highly reflective. I'm not suggesting that this treatment here isn't highly reflective, but I thought the R was very clever because it said in a very visible way. It said Rukka, but it was also part of the safety of the jacket. People often will tell you that they're not influenced by the brand, that they're only interested in the features, the performance of a jacket. Not sure that that's particularly true, but in this case I think the logo on the jacket was more than just decorative. It was a recognition that you were this certain kind of biker, and personally we think that it was part of Rukka's DNA. They should probably have stuck with it, but of course that's just our view. We've mentioned already the Down-X jacket, the down-filled thermal liner that was introduced with the Nivala 1. Well, the Nivala 2 has its own version. This is now known, this jacket is known as the Down-X 2. And I have to say, we don't like it as much. Now, clearly, somebody back at the factory had come to the conclusion that the original was cut too short. And it is true that the Down-X that came with the Nivala 1 had a bit of a, let's call it a bolero cut. And it didn't necessarily look great when you got off the bike. So I understand where they were coming from. But I think in creating a longer jacket, a jacket that they feel is going to look better on the street for wearing when you get off the bike, they have compromised it as a jacket on the bike. Because what you now have to do, if you want to zip in, you're going to have to scrunch all this up, because with a jacket this long, that is going to get right in the way of the zipping of the top half with the bottom half. You don't want to have to tuck this into your Nivala pants, so you're going to have to scrunch the jacket up, and I don't think that is particularly comfortable. Also got to say that we are concerned a little bit about the consistency of sizing with this jacket. This is a 50, I'm a 50, this feels way too big for me, and the sleeves are way down there. So overall, I think we preferred the Down-X jacket in the Nivala 1, but I'm sure this is going to do the same job. Is it going to be as warm? It's too early to tell. It doesn't feel quite as puffy, doesn't feel quite as warm as the other one, but that may just be a perception. Only time will tell us whether it's going to work as well. So this is the Nivala 2 pant, made from the same 500 denier cordura as the jacket. In the vulnerable areas, most vulnerable areas, so the knees and the hips, you've got a second layer of 500 denier cordura that's woven with Kevlar. In other words, that becomes a material called armor core. In the knees and the hips, you've got D3O level 2 armor. Of course, it's Rukka's own oversized armor. Here on the sides, you've got a zip pocket, 2 zip pockets here, hand warmer pockets. Below those, we've got 2 zips here for the vents, so going to allow air to flow in hotter conditions. At the bottom of the leg, you've got long zips and fastening straps. Open these up and you're going to be able to get pretty much any kind of touring or commuting boot inside these trousers, perhaps not a full-on pucker plastic off-road boot, but of course these trousers weren't designed to be ridden in that kind of boot. You've got this adjustment system at the waist, works really well, gives you a lot of adjustment. Trousers come supplied with braces. We think braces with a suit like this are important. It's a much more comfortable way of riding, and it keeps the trousers always at the right height. Obviously when you're zipped in, the shoulders of the jacket hold the trousers up, but if you unzip for whatever reason, if you get off the bike, there's a tendency for your trousers to fall down, so braces are always going to keep the trousers in the right place. In the seat, there are 2 systems that Rukka have. One called the air cushion system, one called the anti-glide system. The air cushion system just raises you a little bit off the saddle of the bike, and what it means is that if you're riding in really wet conditions and the saddle gets really wet, it stops you from getting a saggy bottom. You've also got the other system, anti-glide, and this is a material that goes in the seat that stops you moving around, sliding around on the seat, which can sometimes happen with a textile suit. Now, Rukka say in their information that that is made of Keprotec. It may have Keprotec woven into it, but it looks to me just like a leather or a faux leather, and you get that in the seat. You also get it on the inside of the legs if you're wanting to grip the tank. This isn't the kind of suit that you'll normally stand up in, but if you find yourself needing to do that for whatever reason, then you've got some leather on the inside of the legs. Like the Nivala 1, you've got a down-filled inner thermal layer, removable one, it doesn't zip in. So that's going to make these as warm as any trousers you're ever going to find. The only way to be warmer is to wear something electric inside these pants. Usefully, In fact, I think I would say vitally, these trousers come in short, regular and long lengths. And at this kind of money, I've got to say, that's no less or no more than you would expect. At this kind of money, you want to get the fit right. When you're sat on the bike, the right length for the hem of the trouser is the middle of your ankle bone. So when you're sat on the bike, you've got your feet on the pegs, you want the bottom of the trouser to be about the ankle bone. If the trousers are too short or shorter than that, then you run the risk of rain hitting the ground, coming up, wicking up through the inside of the pant and coming over the shaft of the boot. So a trouser that is too short won't be waterproof or will allow water to get into your boots. If the trousers are too long, then when you get off the bike, they're going to drag on the floor, you're going to damage the membrane, and once the membrane is damaged, again, they're not going to be waterproof again. The other issue is that whether you're, particularly in a rucker pant, whether the trousers are too long or too short, the armour will be in the wrong place. You need to have the right length of trouser to make sure that the armour is going to cup the knee in the way it should. So in just about every practical sense, the Nivala 2 mirrors the Nivala 1. It is, as a suit, just as comfortable to wear. The differences are only those of minor details. So things like the extra vents in the arm, the extra vents at the back, the different arrangement for the neck collar, a more street-looking down jacket for better or for worse. In essence, the Nivala 2 is as similar to the Nivala 1 as it possibly could be. But we have to tell you that there is an elephant in the room, and unfortunately it cannot be ignored. Now, when we launched, or when the Nivala 1 was originally launched, it achieved its CE approval, its CE rating through a slightly different route. Rukka were able to take evidence of how strong their jackets were, how they had survived in high-speed accidents, take that to what was known as the ENB, the European Notification Board, and they satisfied them of the qualities of their jackets such that they were given CE approval. So they didn't have to put their suit through the tests that are normally demanded under the standard, the current standard, which is known as EN 17092. That was not an issue for us, nor was it for police forces around the UK and indeed around Europe. It's got to be said that not many police forces could afford the Nivala because it was always an expensive suit, but those who bought into Nivala simply loved it. It's the most popular suit in the police, as I've said, for those who can afford it. However, the world has moved on, and now it is less acceptable not to have your garment tested under EN 17092. The issue is that this suit only meets that standard at the A level. Now, there are three levels. There's the A level, there's the AA level, and there's the AAA level. And in theory, as you move up to AA and AAA, suits are more protective. One would never expect a suit like this to be to AAA. It would be incredibly uncomfortable. So you cannot make a comfortable suit with a breathable membrane at the AAA level. But we might have expected this suit to be AA. We had some issues. We wanted to know why this was, so we spoke directly with Rukka in Finland. And from what they've told us, they weren't concerned about it. And I suppose, having had that conversation, neither are we. They tell us that the suit performs every bit as well. It's almost identical in construction to the original Nivala 1, and we saw the evidence of lots of customers who had accidents in the Nivala 1, and it always stood up incredibly well. So I don't think that there is a real problem with this suit. But what Rukka explained to us was that the way that abrasion is tested for under EN 17092, it uses a machine called a Darmstadt machine, and you put swatches of fabric on arms. These arms are rotated at a certain speed. It's lowered onto a substrate, and it's how the material survives that test that dictates whether you're rated as A, AA or AAA. But in Rukka's view, the Darmstadt machine simply does not like stretch material, and Rukka particularly wanted this suit to have stretch material within it because that accounts for its comfort. So in Rukka's view, the Darmstadt test is not a real reflection of what happens on the road. It is a test, it is a more or less objective test, but it does not reflect real road conditions. So, if you're the kind of person who's only ever going to buy on the basis of what the report says and what the label in the neck says, then you're not going to buy the Rukka Nivala 2. But I think for some people that would be a mistake, because in every way, this suit is a worthy successor to its predecessor. Well, I hope you found our review of the new Nivala 2 interesting. It's a fantastic suit. At smidge over £2 it's not an inexpensive suit, but it is a particularly comfortable one. If you'd like to see more Rukka gear, visit the website motorlegends.com. If you'd like to learn more about the Nivala 2 in particular, then if you click on one of the links on the screen, sometimes they're up there, sometimes they're down there, that will take you directly to a dedicated page on the website. There you can check out the spec in a little bit more detail, you can check availability, and obviously if you want to buy the suit there and then, you can do that. When you buy from us, we try to make the process simple, straightforward and risk-free as we possibly can. There's no delivery charge on anything you buy from us. Returns are totally free, and what's more, we give you a full 12 months in which to decide whether you do want to return something. We have the best price promise in the business. John Lewis was rightly famed for its never knownly undersold price guarantee. We go one stage better. If you can find a competitor of ours selling anything that we sell at a price that is lower than ours, we will beat that price by a full 10%. There are a few terms and conditions associated with what we call our price beat, nothing particularly onerous, but if you are intending to price beat us, then go over to the website and check out what those terms and conditions are. If in the future you'd like to see bulletins from us about new product launches, then if you go to the website, top of every page there's a piece of script that says newsletter sign up, click on that, and in future you'll receive our email bulletins. If, however, you prefer to get your information videographically, that is to say in this form, then we would be simply delighted if you want to become a subscriber to our YouTube channel, and you can do that by clicking on the button below. I'd like to finish with a little play for our fabulous shop here at Motor Legends. It's about a mile, or we are based about a mile from the centre of Guildford, about a mile from the railway station. And as I've suggested, it's a small shop. It's got a small footprint, but it's attached to our warehouse where we have more than £2 million worth of stock arranged over 3 floors. Technically, that makes us the second largest motorcycle apparel shop in the UK. But we think that we are far more than just the amount of merchandise we have here in the building. We're all about service, we're all about personal fitting. If you want to check us out, visit Trustpilot. We have the highest 5-star ranking in the business. When you come and see us, we'll serve you only the finest Italian illy coffee, or we'll serve you proper Yorkshire tea in a proper teapot. And who knows, if you're lucky, you might even get to sample one of our delicious motorcycle-shaped shortbread biscuits. Anyway, this has been Chris. I hope to talk to you again soon.